I am making and adding Mr. deck profile since I was finally able to get the rest of the cards I needed to build the deck. And I've been testing this deck, and it's a lot of fun. While having this version has only two major boss monsters, one of which I feel like needs to be hit in some way, shape, or form by the ban list. Even if it's just banning Halky, Fibrax, or Celine. Pretty sure most people know what I'm talking about at this point. But anyway, Agnes is a real fun combo deck. But overall, it's just really fun. Starting off with the monsters I play, the one Hiyari Agnister and Doshin Agnister. These two are only in this deck because of how they're just free extenders if you control an Agnister monster. Their other effects don't really matter since Hiyari would search the ritual monster or the ritual spell, and then Doshin would search the fusion spell. But since I don't play those, these two are literally just in here as one of as extenders. Then I play 3 copies of Achichi Agnister. Achichi has the effect of when summoned, you can search for a level 4 or lower Agnister monster from your deck, except for another copy of itself. And then at the start of the damage step, when your Cyberse monster battles, you can banish it from your graveyard to then destroy that monster you control. I feel like this is something. Yeah, destroy that monster you control. But you would only really use that effect for the Fire Link 3, which I'll go over that part when I get to it, the extra deck. Then I play 1 copy of Bururu Agnister. Bururu has the effect of if it's normal or special summoned, you can send 1 Agnister monster from your deck to the graveyard. And then if it's sent to the graveyard as material or the synchro summon of a Cyberse monster, you can special summon one of the other monsters used for its synchro summon and summon it back. So if you have a cheat or Bururu with one of your 2 copies of Doyon Agnister, then you can tune these 2 together, summon a Wind Pegasus Agnister, and then bring back Doyon. And Doyon's effect is if it's normal or special summoned, you can target 1 Agnister monster in your graveyard and add to your hand. And it's sent to the graveyard as material. For the link summon of a Cyberse monster, you can target 1 AI spell in your graveyard, add it back to your hand. Then I play 3 copies of Picari Agnister. Picari is typically one of your 2 starters, having the effect of if it's some normal or special summon, you can add 1 Ignister or AI spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And then you can target 1 Agnister monster you control. Its level becomes 4 until the end of the turn. You can only use each effect of Picari once per turn. So you can use Picari to target any other Agnister, make it level 4 for rank 4 plays, or if you target Bururu, level 8 synchro plays. Then I play 1 copy of Danmari Agnister. Danmari Agnister has the effect of when an attack is declared involving your Agnister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate that attack. While you control a Link 6 monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard when your opponent activates a card or effect, negate that effect activation, and if you do, destroy it. So this card really is only a negation while you control the rival Cyberse Agnister. Then to finish off the Agnister monsters I play the 1 copy of Gachiri Agnister. I don't remember exactly what Gachiri does because it's been a while since I actually played Gachiri because I hardly ever see it. But Gachiri's effect is the first time each Cyberse monster you control be destroyed by battle or card effect each turn, it's not destroyed. You can only use each of the following effects of Gachiri Agnister once per turn. Where you can target 1 Cyberse effect monster you control, negate its effects, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. Or, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster you control. That target is unaffected by opponent's card effects to the end of this turn. But I think it's a decent one of. But anyway, moving on to the hand traps, I play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler, just because this is more of a go second deck, can just stop your opponent from playing sometimes. Just by being able to target a monster during your opponent's battle phase, negating its effects. It's especially good when you open multiples of it. Then I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just to prevent your opponent from searching. Then I play 3 copies of Skullmeister. Normally this would actually be Ghost Spell, but since I couldn't find my Ghost Spells, I figured Skullmeister would be a decent fill-in. Because Skullmeister can negate, you can discard to then negate any effect that activates in the graveyard, such as Destroy a Phoenix Enforcer reviving itself. But I would rather use Ghost Spell, which can negate anything that would banish a card from the grave, summon a card from grave, or return a card from grave back to deck. Ghost Spell is just overall better than Skullmeister. Then for the final hand trap, I also play 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. This is just for if I fight another combo deck like Dragon Link, or from my experience playing it being Branded Despia, or even the Mirror Match, because this deck does summon a lot. But Nibiru just, after your opponent summoned 5 monsters, so it doesn't have to be summoned 5 times, as long as they've summoned 5 monsters. So, like, if your opponent Pendulum summons 5 monsters, that's enough for Nibiru. But once your opponent's summoned 5 monsters, you can activate Nibiru from hand, and it will attribute all monsters in play, summon itself, and then your opponent gets a token that has the combined attack and defense of all monsters attributed by its effect. But it's perfectly fine because you can easily get rid of the token with your Link 6. Moving on to the spells, I play the 1 copy of Called by the Grave to deal with hand traps, 1 copy of Monster Reborn to deal, or as an extender. Then I do only play 2 copies of I Meet You. I would prefer to have this card be at 3 in this deck, but I only have the 2, so 2's better than none. But its effect is you can reveal a Cyberus monster with 2300 or more, or 2300 attack in your hand or extra deck, to then add 1 Agnister monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand. So, like, for example, you can activate it, reveal Light Dragon Agnister, to then add Picari Agnister. And then, during the end phase of this turn, take 2300 points of damage if you did not special summon that revealed monster, or a monster with the same name. After you resolve this effect, you cannot special summon. You can activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except this card. I'm misreading the crap out of this card. I'm sorry. Okay, but once you've resolved this card, you cannot activate card effect or monster effects for the rest of the turn except Cyberus, which is fine because when it's your turn, the only monster effects you will be using are Cyberus anyway. Because every monster you would activate on your turn is a Cyberus. Then, because this deck can be stopped by hand traps easily, I play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Talent just makes it so that when your opponent activates a monster effect during your main phase, you can activate 1 of 3 effects, where you can either look at your opponent's hand, shuffle 1 card from it into the deck, draw 2 cards, or take control of opponent's monster until the end of the turn. Then I play 2 copies of Eye Contact. Eye Contact just has the effect of, if Ignister Island is in your field zone, you can reveal 1 Ignister Island, put it at the bottom of your deck, and then place it at the bottom of your deck, and then draw 3 cards. You can only activate 1 Eye Contact per turn. If I had it, I would take out the 2nd Eye Contact for the 3rd I Meet You. Or I would take out 1 of the 2 Fighting Spirits. Fighting Spirit has the effect of, you can target 1 Agnister monster in your graveyard, special summon it, so it's Pseudo Monster Reborn. And if an Agnister monster you control at 2300 or more attack would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. And then if this card is banished, you can activate this effect, so your Agnister monsters with 2300 or more attack cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. You can only activate 1 Fighting Spirit per turn. You can activate 1 of it per turn. But I just like it because it's a Monster Reborn. Kind of like the 3 copies of Idol Reborn. Most people only play 2 Idol Reborn, but I like it at 3. It is a monster reborn that lets you target an Agnister in your grave, special summon it. But you cannot special summon monsters the rest of the turn except Cyberse, which is fine because again, all the monsters you would summon are Cyberse. And when an attack is declared involving 2 monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard and 1 card from your hand, and then target one of your AI spell or traps that's banished or in your graveyard, except for another copy of Idle Reborn. Add that card to your hand. So just an Idle Reborn that lets you recycle your grave spells or traps. Then I play 3 copies of Signet Mining. This is just reinforcement of the army for Cyberse. That makes you that you discard 4. Then one of the probably the best and most important combo piece for this deck is 3 copies of Ignister Island. Island has the effect of if you control no monsters in the main monster zone, you can special summon 1 add Ignister monster from your hand, but if you use that effect, you cannot special summon that attribute from your hand with its effect again for the turn. So technically speaking, you can use this effect 6 times, as long as you have different attributes in your hand, and no monsters in your main monster zone. And then to finish off the traps, I do play 3 copies of Infinite Permanence just because you do want to stop your opponent's monster effects going while you're going second. And Infinite Permanence just helps to do that. Also, I believe Ignister Island has one more effect I forgot about. Let's see. Oh yeah, its effect is if this card's in your graveyard, you can banish 1 Ignister monster from your graveyards to set island. And you can only use that effective island once per turn. So if your opponent tries to Ghost Ogre Island, you just go, oh no. Use its grave effect, reset it, activate it again, then just... So anyway. But that is it for the main deck. Overall, I feel like the main deck's pretty straightforward with how it works. The side deck, however, there are a couple things I need to change, which I will go over those when I get to them. First, starting with the Link ones, I play 3 copies of Dark Infant Ad Ignister. Dark Infant Ad Ignister has the effect of when it's Link summoned, you can add Ignister Island from your deck to your hand. And when a Cyberse monster 2300 original attack activates its effect, you can activate its effect to move it to another zone and to change its attribute. So, when you use that effect with something like Dark Templar, summon Dark Templar, you then summon Dark Infant, that'll trigger Templar's effect. So Infant will move over 1, and then you'll make it either Divine or Earth. Typically Divine because there are no other Divines in this deck, so you're guaranteed to have at least 2 attributes. And they'll let Dark Templar summon 3 materials back instead of just 2. Which I'll go over Dark Templar once I actually get to Dark Templar. But along with the 3 Dark Infants, I play 1 copy of Splash Mage. This would be 2 copies, but I only have the 1. But Splash Mage has the effect of you can target 1 Cyberse in your graveyard, special summon it in defense, but it negates effects. Also, you can special summon for the rest of the turn, except Cyberse monsters, which is fine, because again, everything in this deck that you want to summon is Cyberse. Then I play 1 copy of Update Jammer and 1 copy of Transcode Talker. Update Jammer has the effect of once per battle during damage calculation. If your Cyberse monster battles, you can activate this card's effect as a quick effect to negate all other effects on the field until the end of the damage step. Damage calculation for that battle using each monster's original attack and defense. Also, if an opponent's monster is destroyed by this battle and sent to the graveyard, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. Then if this card is sent to the graveyard as Link material, that Link monster can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. So one of the things I like to do with this deck is I'll use the Update Jammer, I'll typically try to use Update Jammer as the wind attribute for the rival Cyberse Ignister, just so that a rival Cyberse gets 2 attacks, or even using it for the other box monster so that it gets 2 attacks. Or even just using it for transcode. just because Transcode Talker has the effect of when this card is co-linked and it's this card is co-linked and it's co-linked monster. My bad. Sorry, I haven't read this card in a while and I don't remember what it does. While this card is co-linked, it and its co-linked monster gain 500 attack. Also, your opponent cannot target any of them with card effects. You can target one link 3 or lower Cyberse link monster in your graveyard, other than the Transcode Talker. Special summon this card to a zone. Summon that card to a zone this card points to. And then you cannot search summon monsters that turn you activate the spec except Cyberse. Again, which is fine, because everything's Cyberse. So essentially, Update Jammer. Or Splash Mage summons a monster. I don't remember how it works exactly, but use Update Jammer to make Transcode. Transcode will summon Update Jammer. And then since they're both co-linked, it'll be a 2800 monster that can attack twice. And that can't be targeted. Anyway, moving on to the bigger monsters. I play one copy of Fire Phoenix Agnister. Fire Phoenix I would take out for a second Splash Mage. Then I also play 2 copies of Dark Templar Agnister. Dark Templar has the effect of if a monster is special summoned to a zone it points to, then you can activate its effect to summon as many Agnister monsters from graveyard as possible with different attributes. Which is why you want the Dark Infant to move over 1 when you make Dark Templar, because then you can summon 3 instead of just 2. But when you do that, then you have a Dark, 3 other attributes, and a Divine. So at that point, you just need 1 more monster in order to make your rival Cyberse. But Fire Phoenix, I haven't really summoned it ever in this deck, just because, again, I'd rather it be either Splash Mage, Cyberse Wick Kid, or there's something else that was supposed to be in this deck that I forgot about, but I don't remember anymore. But it should be one of those two, where Cyberse Wick Kid has the effect of it lets you search for Boruru, and then you can summon it from your hand. I don't remember exactly how that works. I just know that I need Cyberse Wick Kid. It's part of your main combo. But moving on to the actual boss monsters of this deck, I play the 1 copy of the rival Cyberse Agnister, and 1 copy of Access Code Talker. Yes, Access Code is the boss monster I've been alluding to this entire time. Just because I'm just excited that I finally managed to get an Access Code. But Access Code has the effect your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to its effect activation. And its effect is when it's co-linked, or when it's link summoned, you target 1 link in your graveyard. It gains 1,000 attack for each of that monster's links. Or you target a link monster that's in the graveyard that was used for its link summon. And then you can banish 1 link monster from your field or graveyard, destroy 1 card your opponent controls. But for the rest of this turn, you cannot banish monsters with this effect, or with that same attribute. Then you can only use as you banish. I'm butchering this card's effect. So, Access Code works a lot like the Ignister Island does, where you can use this effect multiple times. So you have to banish. You have to use different attributes. That's what I was getting at. So if you banish a fire, you cannot banish a fire again. If you banish a dark, you can't banish a dark again. But you can banish dark, fire, water, wind, earth, light. So as long as you have different attributes, link monsters in your graveyard, you can keep popping cards. Then to finish off the extra deck, I play the 2 copies of Wind Pegasus Agnister and 2 copies of Light Dragon Agnister. Really, 1 Wind Pegasus and 1 Light Dragon should be taken out for either the second Splash Mage or the Cyberse Wick Kid, and either Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, or Abyss Dweller. But this is just my testing. This is just a test version of this deck. But Abyss Dweller is to deal with decks like Prank Kids that need their graveyard. But whereas Wind Pegasus is a walking Mystical Space Typhoon that lets you destroy 1 spell trap in your opponent's field for each Agnister monster you control. And then Light Dragon has the effect if you can detach material for Agnister monsters you control be destroyed by battle or card effects. And yeah, can't talk apparently. And then when another Cyberse monster you control inflicts damage to your opponent, you can special summon one Link monster from your graveyard. Or you can detach material, do one of those things. We can bring back a monster, or you can destroy face-up monsters your opponent controls up to the number of different Agnisters. So it can detach to save, or it can detach to destroy monsters your opponent controls up to the different Agnisters you control, or it can detach to bring back a Agnister Link from your graveyard. But that is it for my Agnister deck profile. Sorry if I butchered some of the effects. But if you have any ideas of how I can improve the deck, any ideas of decks you see me make, or decks I see face each other, feel free to comment those below. Thanks for watching.